this is my name, Ibrahim Osman Adam. All along, I have been teaching this course for all the time I have been in UDS. I've been teaching this course at the undergraduate and postgraduate levels. So I have taught it over 10 years. Yes. In terms of background, that is my core background, information systems. My background is also into accounting. I'm also a chartered accountant. So I also, in the past, have taught courses in accounting as well. The marriage between accounting and information systems is there's quite some kind of a marriage between these two areas. And I am the type who encourages people from all different fields to go into MIS. And when I take on the task to teach an MIS course, I end up convincing almost everybody to go that direction. I think tomorrow when you have HR, he will also try to convince you to go to HR. And that is what we all do. And that is what makes our various fields very interesting. I must also emphasize that MIS is a field that touches every aspect, to the extent that researchers in the area would say that MIS is a borrowed discipline because we pick everything from all the other aspects. So in this lecture, our main focus would be to try and understand the relationship between what we call information technology and the organization, as well as the society. And all of this will be geared towards helping us to be able to make better and informed decisions relying on technology. So today's lecture largely will be about some introductory concepts. When we say information technology, what do we mean? Is it the same as information system? We'll be looking at some of these things. When we say ICT, is it the same thing as IT? All of these things we need to understand it. We also need to understand some core concepts like what is a system and how the systems theory will help us to understand what's a system from the perspective of information systems. So that is what the course will be about generally. So this course will not be about programming at all. There's nothing technical about this course. Information system is a non-technical area. So we are not going to go into the realms of how to code. We are not also going to go into the realms of how to do networking, hardware. We're not going to do that. We just want to understand the fact that as part of our lives today, even our working environment, technology has become an integral component, and we cannot work or live without it. How do we leverage on that so that we can work productively, we can work efficiently, and we can make what? Informed decisions as what? Managers. Basically, that is what this course is about. You can scroll. So to do that, there are quite a number of things we'll be looking at. And at the end of it, we hope that we would be able to use technology in various ways to inform our decisions. Now, there's a core text for this course. And the core text is by this gentleman called Loudon and Loudon, this gentleman and the wife. The text title is Management Information Systems, Managing the Digital Firm. Now, this book is about, I think about $50 to $60. It's about $50 to $60. But I have the soft copy, and I will give you the soft copy as part of your reading materials. I must confess, I didn't buy it. I'll give it to you anyway, but I didn't buy it. Now, this confession is necessary for one main reason. How did I acquire the book? There are some rogue sites online that we go and we get access to some of these things. Now, as information system professionals or academics, it raises a number of issues. Don't you think so? It raises ethical issues. Because somebody has labored to write a book of about 600 pages. Is selling it for about $60. And you go to a particular site where the book is available free of charge, and you download it illegally. So it raises ethical issues. And as part of this course, understanding ethical issues that information system raises, either in our individual lives or as part of our work environment is also very critical. Now, the other issue it raises is how those who put the book online, how did they come by this book? Did they buy it and put it there, or they obtain it in an unethical way? So even if they have done that, it means that they may have obtained the book using either hacking or some other method to do that. And that also raises an issue. When you have a system, how do you protect it? So in this course, we'll be looking at the ethical aspects of information systems. We'll be looking at how to even secure information systems. But we cannot do this until we understand basically what an information system is. So we're going through a number of topics to be able to do that. Now, before we do, we will go through the course content. How are you going to be assessed? And Prof did justice to the fact that you be assessed on a number of bases. There will be quizzes, there may be presentations, there may be take-home assignments and all that. All that will constitute 40%. But I say that when I give you a 10 paper, either a group 10 paper or individual 10 paper, and we will decide as a class whether it should be individually based or group based. That should carry 30%. And then I'm not sure if I will be able to give you an individual assignment. It could be an individual assignment or just participation in class. That takes 10%. Then in the exam, you will battle for 60%. So when he was displaying the slides during the orientation, you would have seen that with the 40%, somebody was holding a baby to the chest. Did you realize that? The 40% is for you to keep. How do you keep that? The 40% is for you to keep. Because if it's a group 10 paper and you do it very well, if it's an individual 10 paper, I'll take home assignment and you do it very well, and you get even 30%. And the pass mark for postgraduate students in UDS is 60%. That is a B. And you have 30% already. I don't think the exam will give you sleepless nights. So even if it is financial accounting, and your 10 paper gives you 30%, at least in the exam, when everything is over 60, you should be able to cross the bar and get your 60 and then get your B. Okay, so that is how the assessment will be done. Now, the lecture is divided into, the MIS course is divided into some main parts. The first part will look at MIS or information systems in the context of organization, management, and the networked enterprise. We say networked enterprise because hardly would you see an organization just doing its own stuff alone without any integration with other organizations. So we will look at it in the context of, we'll look at the MIS in the context of individual organizations, management within organizations, and in the context of what? A networked enterprise. To do that, in this course, is divided into 3 blocks. I will first of all introduce the course and try to explain some critical things in terms of the objectives of the course. That's what I'm currently doing, the outline, how assessment will be done, your expectations, and how our 10 paper will be structured. Then in the second part, we'll try to understand what we mean by an information system and how it is redefining business today. Then in the second part, we'll look at understanding information systems using the perspective of what we call the systems theory. The third part will involve us looking at information systems in a global context. And we will try to understand how information systems is transforming business and why they are so important for running and managing businesses today. We will also look at some perspectives of information systems in terms of the management perspective, the organizational perspective, and the technology perspective. We will also quiz ourselves of one critical thing. You would have seen almost all of you are working. Now, assuming in your organization, you have a competitor, say an insurance firm or a banking entity. You realize that one particular bank or one particular insurance company is now relying so much on technology to the extent that the field agents of this insurance company they now go about using tablets. When they're in the field, they're using tablets. When they see anything, they take. And then you also decide that, okay, we are competitors. We are also going to do same. We will buy tablets for our staff. Now, when you do that, you may be missing the point because you may not know the strategy of your competitor. So you don't copy wholesale. Now, apart from just investing in the technology, it is also important that as an organization, when you are investing in the technology, you understand that there may be other assets that the organization needs to invest in apart from the technology. Otherwise, you will not get the real or the full value of the technology. We'll try to understand that later today. And I will use a lame example to buttress this point. I have seen many young girls around with iPhone 14. The latest is 14, right? The latest iPhone is 14. Is it 14? 14, yes. Now, there are several features in this phone that these young girls don't even know about. So because of the aesthetic value and because of the prestige that goes with it, the person is using it. But there are some critical components or critical features the phone has. This person has no idea. Even if the person has an idea, he or she doesn't know how to manipulate the phone to be able to activate or use this particular feature. So the person may need, in quotes, some coaching or training to be able to do that. So acquiring the phone per se doesn't mean that if Mr. A has got the phone and he can do ABC, when you also buy it, the phone can do that. And sometimes some of you may have come across this. I use an Android phone, a cheap Android phone. But sometimes I use my phone to do things and somebody would say, hey, your phone can do that. Can my phone do that? Meanwhile, that person is holding iPhone 14. It can do better than that. But the person hasn't got that idea or that inclination to be able to use the phone for that. So there are two things. When you invest in technology, you also need to invest in a complementary asset. So if you are not tech savvy, you don't know how to use a phone properly, and they give you an iPhone, what value has it? It won't add any value. The only value it will add will be that aesthetic. You are holding something new, something latest, but productively you will not be able to do that. It is important that when we invest in technology, we also invest in something else. And that thing is what we call the complementary asset. So the second part, we'll look at what we call complementary assets and how information systems can give us the value we want when we invest in complementary assets. Then the last part, I will just touch briefly on the academic disciplines used to study information systems. So somebody here may be thinking, if you say you hold a PhD in information systems, well, undergraduate level, there's no PhD, there's no degree in. So how can I go and do a PhD in information systems? Now, traditionally, that is what one would have said, because in times past, we never had a degree program in information systems. Now, let me do a little bit of advertising. The School of Business is introducing a business information systems degree, a degree in that field. It is one of a kind. But those of us in the area, we never did any degree in business information systems or management information systems. So when we're talking about the academic disciplines you can pursue to be in that area, sometimes it can be a bit confusing. But it is exciting to note that any field you are in, either sociology, history, archaeology, you can end up being a professor in information systems. You just need to have that interest in what? In technology and how technology affects our lives. Then the second lecture, which will be next week, we'll look at how we can work together, how we can collaborate by relying on what? On technology. How do we collaborate relying on technology? And some of you would have seen a lot of the things we are doing, even before you got here. Some of you, I know you, we have interacted virtually. We were collaborating. And even beyond this particular class, we will continue to collaborate by relying on what? Technologies. Look, there are some technologies we already know. And when we are talking about global e-business and collaboration, there are not new technologies. The technologies we already know. We can leverage on these technologies to be able to what? Work together in a seamless way. So we'll look at, to be able to understand that, we will need to understand what we mean by a business process, because business processes are the core or at the heart of an organization. And it is the changes in these business processes that IT or ICT would help to enhance. And it is based on this that we may be able to, it is based on this ICT, business processes, that we may be able to collaborate. So we try to understand what business processes are and how they are related to information systems. And in the lecture 2, we will also argue that when we introduce technology, it will do a number of things in our organization. It may just completely change everything we have been doing, or it may just change a little bit of what we are doing in in a new way. Now, in lecture 2, we will also look at the nature of an organization by looking at the different levels in the organization. There's always a top man, a boss. There are some in the middle. There are some at the bottom. Information systems in the organization will serve them differently. So the sort of system the CEO will use, or the interface the CEO will interact with, will be different from what the one in the middle and those at the rank and file would use. So we'll look at the different management groups in a business and how the system that link the enterprises can be used to improve organizational performance. Then we'll look at some systems for collaboration and social business. Then finally, we'll look at the role of information systems, the function of an information system in a business. The third lecture would involve how we can leverage on information systems to attain a competitive advantage, to attain a competitive edge over others. Then here, we'll draw on some marketing principles, Porter's 5 forces model, to see how we will be able to do that. Then the fourth lecture, this is where the issues of ethics and social implications of information systems will be raised. When I give you my phone to check a picture, the pictures we took today, what will you do? Will you just look at the picture, or after looking at the picture, when I tend to receive a call from my other phone, you will scroll? All of this raises ethical issues. So I always say that when I give you my phone to look at a picture, don't scroll or swipe. Just look at it, nice picture, and give it back to me. Because when you do that, when you swipe or scroll, it raises what? Ethical issues. Ethical issues. Information systems also raises social issues at our individual level, or even at organizational level. Yeah. It raises issues, social issues. Look, I'm so addicted to the extent that when I wake up, first thing I do is to pick up my phone. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I should check on my kids first. But the moment I wake up, phone, then you check. Because I'm doing that because information system raises a particular issue, a social issue. Things I used to do first in the morning, now I am using this. So we will discuss some of these issues when we get to this. Then it also raises ethical issues. And then when we have done that, we would have finished the first part. The second part would be to look at the information technology infrastructure. You will see that the first part, I was talking about network business. The first part, the major part, network business. You cannot have a network without an infrastructure. Some sort of infrastructure will enable the networked enterprise. So we'll look at some infrastructure. We'll look at it in the context of telecommunications, the internet, and most recent technologies in terms of wireless technology. So here, we will try to understand the principal components of a telecommunication network, the hardware components, the software components, and then we will also look at other aspects. And here, we'll be interested in trying to just differentiate some basic ways of networking and enterprise. Almost everybody here would have heard of infrared. Those days, infrared. If you had a phone and it had infrared port, you were the Oga. But just look at how those devices were being networked. You will have to position the phone in a way that the ports will be able to communicate. We have gone beyond that, and now we are looking at technologies that far exceed those technologies. Go on. Yes. Then when we have looked at that, we'll look at how we can protect our information systems. And that will be the end of the second part. Then we'll also have key system applications for the digital age. We'll look at how we can conduct business, how we can buy and sell using or relying on technology. So we'll look at e-commerce, we'll look at digital markets, and we'll look at digital goods. Yeah, if you are using an iPhone, they say it is difficult. You would have to always buy your music from maybe a particular store. Well, iTunes. Yes. In that case, the track you have bought is what? A digital good. Interesting thing about digital goods is that the moment you buy them, they are delivered to you instantly. Unlike other goods, if I buy an item on Kiku, it takes almost a month before it gets to me. But if I buy an item on iTunes, or I pay for an ebook, it will be delivered to me instantly, right there on my device. So we'll look at the concept of e-commerce in the context of digital markets and digital goods. We'll look at the key features or unique features of e-commerce, digital markets, and digital goods. And we'll also look at the principal e-commerce business and revenue models. Now, if you want to embark on the practice of buying or selling online, you need two ideas. How or what will be your business model? Even if it's not going to be an e-commerce business, if you are going to buy and sell by the roadside, you need a business model, right? So we'll look at some business models. After that, we'll look at the revenue model. So you must first of all think of a business model before you think about how you can make money. So my business model will be that where I'm going alone. I'm just setting up a sole proprietorship. Fine. What am I going to sell? So my revenue model will depend on what I will sell. Are you getting it? So similarly, we would use that same concept to be able to look at the revenue, the business models first, and then we'll also look at revenue model. So we'll be asking ourselves critical questions like, somebody maintains a website like My Joy Online. Do they sell anything there? So you think that they don't sell anything, but they do. And there are many content websites that provide only content, but they offer their space because they have a lot of visitors or subscribers. They can offer part of their space to outsiders so that when people visit there, they will see some products there for sale. There are many different models. So apart from just buying or selling online, other business models may involve just advertising. There are others too. When you go to visit or read, there are some news websites like Financial Times. If you go there to read a news item, or maybe you see a news item in somebody's feed on Facebook and you follow it and go there, you can only read the caption and maybe a preview. When you try to read the whole news, they will say Visa card. So what do? It means it's pay per view. You have to pay before you'll be able to do that. Others will tell you to subscribe monthly. Others will tell you to just pay. Or others will even tell you to try for some time. Then when you get hooked on, you will do what? You will pay. We'll also look at how we can achieve operational excellence and customer intimacy by relying on enterprise applications and how we can rely on information systems to enhance decision making. That is a lot. 9th lecture. That's a lot. I'm not sure we'll get there, but we'll try. We'll try. For some of them, we'll try and box it together. But these are what, then the last part will be building and managing systems. Should an organization build its system from within, or it should outsource it? So basically, this is what the course would be about. And today, our first lecture will be an introductory lecture to understand some key concepts. And then we can delve deeper into the main. So if you look at the course outline, I've given you a copy. All what we have projected is there. In the past, what I have done is that the first day like this, I will share the term paper with the class. But I have realized over the years that it scares people. Yes, people who think, oh, first day he has given us assignment to read. What is that? So this time, I'm not going to do that. So next week, next week, we will discuss the term paper. After the lecture, we'll discuss the term paper. Because I always do that, give it out early, because I'll give you enough time to be able to, if you are going to work in groups, enough time to be able to work on it, submit your report or whatever, the day you are going to write the exam for the MIS. So that's a long time, about 6 weeks. So next week, I'll present it, and then we will discuss it. So what would happen is that this is the book. After the lecture, I will share this book. I will share today's lecture slides, and I will share a soft copy of this as well. Is that okay? So that at least, so look at what we are trying to do. We'll give you the book, we'll give you the slides, we'll give you the recording. So you decide which one you are going to. We will give you everything: the book, the slides, the recording, and the head. Somebody said, and the head to be able to learn. Yeah, so that's quite a lot. And as I indicated this morning, an MBA course is a very challenging, an MBA program is a very challenging program. If Mr. Dodati, Prof. Haruna, and me, this evening, if we share our slides for today with you, I think some of you will get scared, but don't get scared. My advice and trick is always that, please don't let it pile up. Within the week, listen to it. We will share the link to the recording. Just listen to it. Either when you are driving, or maybe in the background, you are doing something and it's playing in the background. That's how when you now start reading the slides or going through the slides, a lot of the things would come to your mind. But if you leave them 1 month, if you see the material, you say that, if I knew, I wouldn't have paid. Yes. It can be quite a lot, because look, just imagine me sharing 10 topics. Check, when I give you the book, check the number of topics in this book. It's like we're just going to digest the whole book. That's a lot. But we will do it in such a way that it is the core concepts you are supposed to grasp. That is why it is a Master of Business Administration. The core concepts are very necessary. So as part of the lecture, I also don't have a problem when I am teaching and somebody places a phone right here to record just the audio and share it with you later, because you don't have time. And some of you here, when you go home this evening and you say you will look at it, the kids will come, the elder kids will come. When I say elder kids, I mean the husbands. They also, so you will not be able to. But when you have all of this around you, at least it will be able to help your learning process. All right. Any question? Any question? Okay. Or suggestion? Well, I've not started the lecture yet, and I'm asking for questions. Would have you? Okay. All right. So we'll start the lecture. I've already introduced myself, and maybe many of you would have noticed today, I am the one who has been adding you to the platform. Yes. And because of the way we work here, you will hardly tell who is in charge of what. We just work together in a very coordinated way. And that is the way we also want you to interact. And I forgot to mention this during the orientation. Where you are sitting today, please, tomorrow when you come for lectures, don't sit there. Who you are sitting by, tomorrow when you come, don't sit by that person. Because to be able to forge the kind of networks we want you to, you can't always come with your guy you already know. No. You finish the course and you don't know anybody. So mingle. Because, look, there are some in this class who are hiding. I must be honest with you. There are some here who are hiding. And they are hiding because they are, in quotes, big people. So talk to each other, interact, and you will see that this may lead you to something bigger than just the program. And that is an interesting part of when adults go back to school. A lot of things happen. Yes, so lecture 1. We are going to try to understand information systems in global business today. To do that, by the end of this, we'll come back to this at the end of the lecture to ask ourselves, what is that? Don't write, please. Don't. Let's just interact. All of this is meant for you. All of this you see here, it will be for you. This will be our objectives. What is an information system? How does it work? What are its management, organizational, and technology components? Why are complementary assets important for ensuring that information systems provide genuine value for organizations? And then how are information systems transforming business? Why are they so essential for running and managing business? Almost the same. Now, we cannot understand what information system is. Traditionally, we'll just call it, or even when you look at the textbook, it's management information system. That is the core discipline. Now, to be able to understand what this course is about, I usually will break that core discipline into 3 parts. There's management, there's information, and there's a system. Then we take a top-down approach. So we look at the system first, try to understand what it is. Then we come and understand what information is and what management is, and then we put it together. Now, interestingly, there is nobody in this class who hasn't heard the term system. Even if you have not, the way our country is so polarized by politics, you will have heard of the political system, the banking system, educational system. The system we are talking about here is not different from the word system we have been using outside. So don't think that when we say management information system is something technical. Look at it from that basic point of view. What is a system? Now, you see that the examples we have just given, political system, banking system, a sound system, we guys, sound system, system in the car. If you look at the examples we have given carefully, you realize that some of the systems, you can actually see them. Some, you can't see them. You can only see the effect of it. So it means that a system can be abstract. It can also be what? Tangible or physical. Are you getting it? So let's take this pointer, for instance. It's some kind of what? A system, but I can see it. But all of us exist in an educational system, which we cannot see. Are you getting it? So the educational system will be what? Abstract, whilst this particular controller system will be what? Physical. But if you look at the system, both, either abstract or tangible or physical, if you look at it carefully, it has components. So this, if I open the pointer, then I have batteries inside. There's a lens here, different components. Now let's look at an abstract system, political system. There are political parties. And you go down to what? Constituency, you go down to polling station, all of this, electoral commission, all of these are part of that particular system. Are you getting it? So another critical component of a system is that, another critical feature, of a system is that it has components. Are you getting it? So it is a whole, but it has components. And even within those components, there may be what? Sub-components. Are you getting it? Why do we call it a system? We call it a system because all the small components within it, they relate. So there's what? An interrelationship. There's some kind of an interaction between the subcomponents. That's another feature. If we use this as an example of a system, what feature can you mention? If I use this particular, the purpose of the pointer is to scroll, not to. But if I just point it to the laptop like that, it won't scroll. Will it scroll? No, I have to do something to it for it to scroll. What do I have to do to it? I have to press. So the point at which me, as an outsider to this system, I interact with this system, there is what? An interface. There's a point I need to press. So a system would have some kind of what? An interface. Are you getting it? It will have an interface. But for it to also work, for this pointer to work, I must press this to go forward. I must press the forward key, backwards, then I'll press the backward key. That's what I will do. When I press the forward key, I am giving some information or data to the pointer to move the slide forward. So there's an input component. It is only when I have done that, then the lens will react to the connection over there and the screen will scroll. There's an output component. There may be instances where, and some of you would have noticed it, a lecturer will be there, he'll be pointing the thing is not responding. There's a problem. It means there's a problem with what? The system. So a system, when there's a problem, there's an imbalance in the system, there is always what we call a feedback mechanism within that system. It means something is not working. So if something is not working, we need to correct it. And the correction can be two ways. The correction can be two ways. If it is working, do I need to correct it? Can there be a feedback then? If everything is working fine, then it means the kind of feedback we have there, everything is fine. That's the feedback. But if it's not working, that's when I will now open and check the batteries. And the battery is bloated. There's water leaking out. Now say, let's change battery. Are you getting it? So that the system, the components can now be what? Interconnected. Now, I am outside the system's environment. The system, within this particular system, the battery is inside, the lens is inside, other keys and other things are all inside. Some chip is inside. Inside the system's internal what? Environment. We are in this system's what? External environment. So when we say a system, we are referring to a set of what? Interrelated components that they work together to achieve some or perform some task, achieve some objective. That's what a system is. So look at this. What kind of system is this? Respiratory, exactly. It's a respiratory system. Look at the components: lungs, trachea, and some others we don't know. There are some other components we don't know. But all of these components come together to form the respiratory what? System. Look at this system. So in this particular lecture, when we say a system, this one that we are interested in, but that will also be a limited understanding of what a system is. This is also a limited understanding of what a system is. Because with this particular system, keyboard, speakers, mouse, then monitor, CPU, and other components. But before we can have anything here, all of this must be what? Connected together. Okay. You see what I was saying? So feedback. Okay. So the next component we are going to look at would be the second term. We are just looking at systems. We're just looking at systems. Now we want to look at information. Remember we said management, information. So we're now going to information. When I came in this morning, only a few were there at the back. When I came in here, I didn't greet. I came in right here and then opened my laptop, and then about 30 seconds, I said, good morning. I said, good morning. If I had come in with a machete, if I had come in with a machete and I just placed it down cool, quietly, and then I walk to that side, walk back there, walk over there, come back and pick the machete. Then put it back again, and then start. Headgear, bottled water, nice watch, iPhone. Then I start shouting some gibberish. What will you do? That door will be broken. People will start running out. You would react this way because whatever I would have been doing or saying doesn't make sense. It's uncoordinated. So you'll be thinking, what is this guy doing? It's uncoordinated. It doesn't make sense. But in actual fact, if I mentioned machete, machete is there, real. If I said headgear, iPhone, whatever, you will see that all these things are what? Facts. They are facts. They exist. But the way I mentioned them in an uncoordinated way doesn't make sense. All of what I would have said or done will represent what we call data, the machete. All of that, raw facts, data, unprocessed. But later on, when I raised my head and I said, oh, good morning, then they responded, morning, because the greeting made sense. Are you getting it? So it is only when, so let me use this diagram to explain more. Look at this side. We have 331 bright dish soap, 1.29. So even if I came in and I put this slide and I started mentioning 331 bright dish soap, 129, 863 BL Hill coffee, 4.69, 173 meal cat, 0.7. What's that? But all these things may relate to something which actually exists. They are what we call data, raw facts. But on another side, if we look at it carefully, you would see sales region, Northwest, store, superstore number 122, item number 331, description, bright dish soap, unit sold 7,100. You see that it's making sense because this presents some information. Processed. Now, the thing that processes this gibberish to meaningful form is what we refer to as the information system. So how different is that from knowledge? How different is that from knowledge? We all know knowledge. Oh, this guy is knowledgeable. How different is data information from knowledge? How different is information from knowledge? At the undergraduate level, the trick I give to students who have never spoken in classes, I'll roll the slide forward, turn it back and ask the same question. If you have not spoken in class, you have seen this, you were fast enough to see the slide, then you just mention it. Information that has been assimilated in a coherent framework of understanding, often within the human mind. So if somebody chews, and this happens to us sometimes in exam, you have baba the thing, you chew the thing, and then you go and they just change the thing small, and the guy will write all what he chewed there. It means that you are not knowledgeable. You are not knowledgeable. Now, the interesting part of this course is we don't want you to go through that process one bit, chewing. This is not part of this course. The things we are discussing in the exam, the questions will be set in a similar manner so that you can use your understanding of the concept to be able to do what? That is only when you will become what? Knowledgeable. Okay. Then we'll ask the question, okay, we have not looked at management. Management. Year one, in a business course, either diploma or degree, they will teach what management is. And the definition they will usually give is that management is the art of planning, directing, controlling. In fact, that is what management is. Now, I think the second or third part of the lecture, we will look at how an organization can be segregated into different levels. So we have the top management, we have the top executives, the CEOs, then we have the middle level management, and then we have those at the operational level staff. Now, different types of systems or information systems will serve their different needs. Now, there are a particular group, sometimes we may just call them management, and the kind of system that may serve them, we may just refer to it as a management information system because it serves that particular level of management. So when we say MIS or IS, Management Information System, we are basically looking at a set of interrelated components. These interrelated components will be used by us individuals to be able to assimilate or process data so that it can aid us in making informed management decisions. Now I'm going to go a step further. So it means that data is a critical component of an information system. Do you agree? Data is a critical component of an information system. Okay, I turn it. Data is a critical component of an information system. Data. Now, when we're talking about tangible and intangible systems, if we relate it and make it a bit more technical, in the context of this particular course, management information systems, we would not talk about a system that hasn't got anything to do with technology. Are you getting it? So we will not be looking at political systems. No, we'll be looking at computerized systems. And for computerized systems, some important components are there. There's always a hardware component, which is what? Tangible. There's a what? A software component. So we can say that based on our understanding in the last 30 minutes, we can say that the core components of an information system can be described as being hardware, software, and data. True or false? Based on our discussion in the last 30 minutes, can we say that an information system consists of hardware, software, and data? Because this part actually would be what will do the processing. We'll look at that later. I don't want to jump the gun. But in the field of information systems, when we say an information system, we are not only just looking at the hardware, the software, and the data. Let's just even take the data. The system, if we consider only these three components as the core components of our information system, the system may, and let me stress this, the system may not be able, this may not be able to pick this data automatically. It may need, exactly, so it will need people to be able to support. Now, these people and this hardware and software will also follow some procedures. Based on this, conveniently, we can say that when we explain an information system to be a set of interrelated components, the interrelated components are hardware, software, data, people, and procedures. We say a system consists of interrelated components, but we are saying that specifically when we are looking at a management information system, we are looking at it in the context of what? These are the components: hardware, software, data, people, and procedures. This one is the bridge. This one is a bridge, and I'll explain why it is a bridge. This two, that is the human aspect. Human, right? So usually we'll say this part is social. So into bracket, human, right? And then this part is the non-human aspect. So we refer to this part as what? The technical. The technical aspect. Now, with this understanding, technical aspect, social or human aspect, it is the data that serves as a bridge between the technical, yes. So for an information system to be complete, we must have had all of this. So a computer per se, that is why I said that when I display the picture of the computer connected with the speakers, I said in the context of MIS, we will not limit our understanding of an information system to only computerized aspects. These aspects are very, very what? Critical in an information system, whilst this acts as a bridge. So all of this is what we refer to as IS, information system. How different is that from information technology? Now, in some literature, they will just tell you that the hardware and the software part represents the technology. Others will include this as the technology. Yes. The software and the data. Okay. So the difference between the software and the data. Anybody who can explain that? The difference between the software, the part of the computer you cannot see, that represents the software. The part you can see, feel, and touch represents the hardware. Are we okay? But there is an external component of the computer which may have to be brought into the computer, which you cannot see or touch. So data is not necessarily a part of the hardware and software component that constitute technology. It is an external component. though that external component too, you cannot see, feel, and touch it. That is why we see that as an interface between this one and that one. So for instance, when you buy a new computing device, I'm not saying computer, a computing device, this part may not be there. Are you getting it? That is why we don't categorize it as this. You may also buy a new computing device and this part may be there. That is why there is that argument in the literature that you can consider hardware, software, and data as technology parts. And others will consider only this and this as a technology part, depending on where you stand. Is that okay? Now, still on this simple analysis, what do you think if we move from this side, from the bottom, upwards? Remember that this is the social part, and we can also refer to these two parts as the organizational part. We, people, and procedures. No computers, no data, this part. Now, as an organization moves from this part to this part, what do you think will happen in that organization? Let me take it again. As an organization moves from this part, the bottom, it means that the organization is having less of procedures, less of people, and then more of this. What do you think will be happening in that organization? Yes. Minimal human activity or interaction. And technically, we will call it, you know it. Auto, yes. Maybe artificial intelligence, but automation. The moment you start, look, go to the bank to, if you were banking 15, 20 years ago, when you go queue, long queue. Now go to the ATM. There are two holes. You can put your cash in there. You won't go into the bank because they have removed those who were in the bank receiving the money. And the procedure of queuing, it has been removed. So as you move forward here, on top, there's what we call automation, more computerization. And that is where we are all moving towards, the reduction in procedures and human interaction to making systems more intelligent. What will happen if you are moving this way? So the moment you start moving this way, and other organizations today that are moving from hardware, software, technological component to more of this. Think. Any example of a scenario where less of technology is being used and more of the human interaction there? Yes. The prison service. How is that? Machines for, okay, and when that happens, you see, when this happens, what will be the impact on organizational performance? Inefficiency, low productivity, name them. Name them. So all organizations in today's competitive global environment are striving to move from this to that. And the police service. Yes. Yes. GES2 is the same. I like that. Everything they say open file. But the file could easily be open on your. Okay. So again, if we are saying hardware, software, data may be technology, that means that information systems encompasses what? Technology. So if you are asked what is the difference between information systems and information technology, the easiest way to explain that is to use what? The components. And we call it the 5-factor framework. This 5-factor framework can be used to explain what IT is and what information system is. So in an exam, one of my favorite questions, using the 5-factor framework, explain the difference between an information system and information technology, using examples in an organizational context. So you are working, so you just pick. If you are a teacher, exam question, no. So you just pick. So you say, so you first of all would list the components of an information system. You will relate. Who will be the people there? The one opening the file, the teacher. The procedures. You identify them. What kind of data are you opening the file with? You identify it. Are you getting it? But in such a system, there's minimal use of this. Are you getting it? So when you have identified all of this in an organizational context, it is easier to explain. It is easier to explain it. The question is, using the 5-factor framework. Yes. So look at this. So the explanation of an information system we are trying to achieve is basically this one. You see the computers, they are not existing in isolation. The people, the procedures the people will follow is a critical aspect, very critical. So in a typical information system, there are some processes. There are some processes. The processes of input and processing and then output. Every information system would have. So every system would have, even the political system, it will have that component. Be there, an NDC or MPP, they do something, the other side will, they will respond. EC does something, the other side will respond. So there's always the aspect of input, what goes into the system, the processing, and the output, as well as the feedback. This is the part I want to touch on, the feedback. Do you think feedback is always negative? So when the system is not working properly, the feedback will be that. The feedback would be the next input will have to be what? Altered, so that the processing and the output will be better and up to standard. In that case, the feedback is improving the system. The feedback can also be positive. If the system is working, it's perfection, there's perfection. So the feedback can act, one, as a corrective mechanism. When the system is failing, then the next input, you correct it so that the system will now work what? Perfectly. But if the system is working perfectly, then the feedback will be that. The feedback will be that of what? Reinforcement. You are just going to reinforce it so that it will still be what? Working as you want. So feedback can come in two ways. Okay. Yeah, so when we say feedback, we're basically looking at output that is returned to appropriate members of an organization to help evaluate or correct the input, the next input stage. So this diagram explains that. So a typical information system would have this: the input, the processing, and then the output. The information system exists within an organization, but the organization also exists within a larger environmental context. Are you getting it? Now, within that environment, there are suppliers, there are customers, there are competitors, there are shareholders or stockholders, and there are what? Regulatory agencies. Today, they say if you want to file your tax, you do it what? Online. A lot of things. So regulatory agencies here, shareholders, maybe dividends are declared, they may get their dividends by wire transfer. Competitors, your competitors, even if you don't interact with your competitors, they will find a way and interact with you because they will go to your website, go to other places, look at what you are doing. Then customers, delivery of goods and services, and also feedback from your customers. And then also suppliers will deliver to you, then you also will pay them. So how is this different? I think I've explained a bit of this, but there's an aspect I want to throw more light on. The difference between technology then and then ICT. Technology, we have just differentiated information technology and information system. Now, technology and ICT, are they the same? Technology is a non-human entity. So my hand is not technology. Anything that is a human entity. It's not technology. Technology is a non-human entity. And technology applies knowledge. So technology does not occur naturally. Yes, growing up as kids, those who were able to go and take the juju for breaking coconut. You remember? Papa juju. You put the coconut there and hit it. Yeah, your hand to do that. It's not technology. That's it. It's not technology. But today, there are tools you can use to what? Just crack a coconut within a twinkle of an eye. And without necessarily showing your strength, but showing your what? Your riches. You go and get a nifty device you pay for, and you can crack the coconut and do a lot of things. That device will be technology, but your hand is not technology. Then also, technology does something. It has a purpose of undertaking a task such as converting some inputs into different outputs. So when we are defining technology, these things are very critical. Based on this, how then do we differentiate technology from ICT? So technology will help you to do something. Is that okay? But when technology helps you to do something and also supports you to communicate it, then it becomes what? ICT. Are you getting it? Information and what? Communication technology. You see the difference? And another favorite question in exam is, you have a daughter or son in JHS, then she asks you to tell him or her the difference between ICT and technology. Okay. So technology can be defined as devices or techniques that apply knowledge in order to complete a particular task. It will help her to do the task in a better, efficient way, increase productivity. But when you have increased your productivity and you are not able to communicate it, it ends there. Technology ends there. If you are able to use the technology to be able to communicate what you have done, then we have ICT. Okay, now we look at the dimensions of information systems. There are 3 dimensions I want us to look at: organizational, management, and technology dimension. In fact, in some way, we have looked at some of them. If you look at the technology dimension of information systems, we're basically looking at what? Technical aspect of information systems. This. And then the organizational and management dimension comes under the social or non-human. So in the organizational context, we are looking at how information systems will serve different levels in our organization. If you go to Malcolm, the one sitting at the tail, the entrance, you see another man sitting behind him. That man monitors more things than the lady who receives, the one who receives. I get it. So the one who is receiving the cash, if you ask her, I wanted to buy a lawn mower, but yesterday I came, it was there. Today I came and it's not there. The lady will tell you, oh, maybe it's finished. Then you ask her, when are you going to get next lawn mowers? She probably will turn and ask the man there, because the interface she is faced with will not be able to point out when the next consignment will come. Are you getting it? So depending on your level in the organization, your information system needs will be what? Will be different. The guy at the top, the guy who will decide that a particular branch should be closed, the aspect of the organization's operations he or she sees, the one sitting at the back of the cashier will not also see that. That guy at the top will determine whether a new branch should be opened in Wale Wale or Morga, or it should be closed down. So these are the perspectives when we are discussing information systems. 3 major perspectives: organizational, technology, and then what? And then management. Okay, so these are the hierarchy of authority. I'm just talking about senior management, middle level, operational management, knowledge workers, data workers, and many others. Then the levels in the organization, different levels. In subsequent lectures, we will look at the types of information systems that will fit into each of these categories. All of this is to remind you. So you see that even this particular concept is from management, basic management, senior management, middle management, and the operational. So the cashier will be here. Those sitting at the back, the supervisors will be here, and then we'll have senior management. All of them having different information system needs. Now, The other dimension of the organizational perspective of information system is that the organization has different functions or functionalities. They have different departments. They may have a sales department, sales and marketing, human resources, finance, and manufacturing. So apart from the levels in the organization, depending on which department you belong to or what you do, the nature of the information system you use will also be what? Will be different. So depending on the ladder where you are placed, and depending on which department you are, the functional area, the type of information system you need would also be different. So for instance, while the sales and marketing guys will use a customer relationship management information system, the guy here, human resource, will use human resource what? Information system. And that system will use to maybe do adverts, recruitment, and other things. Then we also have the finance and accounting. They will also use a different software or system altogether, as well as the manufacturing and production. Okay. Yes, then we have looked at the management dimension, the technology. Any question? Now, based on what we have done, I want to present a simple case study. And the choice of this case study is important because even without reading the case study, all of us will have an idea what the case study is about. And the case study is about DHL. And DHL competes globally using what? Information. We all know DHL. Their office is just around Mekong. What do they do? Yes. Courier service. You are in Beijing and you want someone to receive a document 2 days in Ghana. It will be there. So that is the case. The case is for us to think about the sort of things they use, the sort of technology they use. So I'm not going to go into that, but at least when you go there to take a parcel, or they bring you a parcel, they will pull out some handheld device and ask you to sign on it. And then you sign, and off they go. They don't give you any paper. Then they give you your parcel, but they have your signature. If you deny you never received it, they will find a way to prove that you indeed received it. Now, the questions I want to ask are this. What are the inputs, processing, and outputs of DHL's package tracking system? Remember, we are just looking at intros. So if you look at the case study of DHL, what are the inputs, processing? So first of all, let's take the instance of someone who has gone there to send a parcel. What kind of data do they capture? How do they capture the data? What are the inputs? What are the processing that is done even before you leave the office? So you go there with a parcel, you want to send a laptop to someone in China. What do they do? Yes. Yes, they will take the recipient's address, the sender's address. Yes. And the package information, what is in there? Yes, they will take it. How do they take this information? Input. How do they take this information? Yes. Okay. Okay. Scan. Yes. To the extent that sometimes they won't even let you fill anything. You just sit in front of the guy with a PC and you ask you, and then you'll be typing. After that, you will print out something. So even before you leave, there is somewhat processing. And then you are given a receipt. At the other end, if the person is also going to pick the item, there will be some input that will be taken, some output will be there, some processing will be done, some output, and then, okay. Then what technologies are used by DHL? What technologies do you think they are using? Yes. Yes. Apart from the software, they have customized software. The DHL tracking software. Yes. 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 They have barcode scanners or readers. Yes. They also have those tablets that you would use to sign, take your details. They may If it's a sophisticated office, they may take your biometrics, fingerprints or something. So what strategic? Okay, how are these technologies related to DHL's business strategy? We don't know their business strategy, but considering the nature of the business, they are everywhere. Wherever you want to send a parcel, they will take it there. So what do you think would be their strategy? Do they have office in every town? No, they don't have office in every town. But if you want to deliver to that town, they have an executive who will be able to take it there. Yes. Sometimes they do franchising. Okay, so they do franchising. They may rely on others to be able to deliver. Any other strategy they use? Do you think that all their offices, especially those stationed in Tamale, do you think that if they had positioned desktops there for them, and if they are to deliver something to Bolga or maybe Napanduri, and the only way you can sign is to sign on the tablet, and they don't have tablets, would they be able to sign? So because of the nature of their business, their strategy is that the technologies they use should be related to their strategy. Because of the way they do delivery, the technology strategy is that the technology they use should be what? Mobile. That's why they use handheld devices. So when they are going to put it in their bag or pocket, they are gone. On a and they use motorbike, they can go wherever they want, bring it out, you sign, they give your parcel to you. So depending on the nature of the business, what will happen if DHS information systems were not available? You want to deliver something, even to the city campus, and you don't have the technology. So you call, we have received a parcel and want to deliver it, and I say city campus. They say, where is city campus? Tamale, at the heart of Tamale. They say, no, I don't know that. But if they have a proper information system, they can easily just type in UDS city campus to be able to find out where is it located. So they won't even ask you, where are you? They will be able to track and deliver your package to you. Now, the last concept we discussed, the organizational aspect, the management aspect, and then the what? The technology. Look at how it is playing out in DHL business. Organizational perspective, procedures for tracking packages and managing inventory and providing information. So at the organizational level, they will make sure that all of this is what? Is intact. Management, the top managers will be able to monitor service levels and what? And costs. Then technology-wise, they should be able to do what? Provide handheld computers, barcode scanners, network, desktop computers, and so on. So when we are looking at these three perspectives of information system, we are basically interested in what? In something like this. If you are faced with a case study of this nature in an exam, this is the way you should be able to identify the organizational aspects, the management aspects. You see that the top, this is what they are interested in, the service level. How happy are the customers? How much is coming in? How much are we spending? That's what they are interested in. For us to be able to achieve that, the technology components should be what? Perfect, intact. People should be able to move around with their devices. They should be able to scan. They should be able to have network wherever they are. And they should, in the office too, they may not necessarily rely on the handheld devices. Okay. Any question? We are almost getting to the end of the introductory lecture. Okay. So when you invest, when we are talking about information systems, then it is not just about technology we're interested in. So for us in business, we must always have what? A business perspective of information system. Our perspective should always be what? Business oriented. Is the technology going to add value to whatever we are doing? So as business leaders, we are interested in what? our investment in information technology should result into these things. It should result into productivity increases, revenue increases, and superior long-term strategic position so that we can have what? Competitive advantage over others. That is why it is important that we as business leaders, we understand what we mean by business information value chain. And you may have heard about this term, value chain. When we are talking about value chain, it's a continuum which involves some kind of input, processing, and then output. So as business leaders, we are always interested in the fact that when we use raw data or acquire raw data, it will be transformed using several stages in order to add value to whatever we are processing. So if we get data and we process the data should give us value than what the actual data was given to us. So the value of an information system depends partly on a number of things. For us to be able to get the value we want, it depends on a number of things. So MIS should present us with this particular perspective, a business perspective. And what a business perspective does is that it calls attention to us, organizations and management, to be focused on the value an information system would what? Will create. And as part of the introductory session, I indicated that when we are investing in technology, it does not guarantee that revenue will increase, productivity will increase. That's not a guarantee. It is not a guarantee. It is not a guarantee because when I'm investing in technology, I should also be interested in other things. Remember, we said that when you invest in technology, your whole organizational process may be transformed. It may not also be transformed. You may just be interested in removing some redundant processes so that things will go faster, but you are not changing your entire business. If you are bringing in technology and the intention is that you want to change everything, then it means that the introduction of the technology is going to be transformational. You are transforming the entire organization. But if you are just interested in just changing some procedures or steps, then it means the impact of the technology in the organization will be what? Incremental, just small steps that you are changing. So when we invest in technology, we should be using the right business model alongside that technology. Otherwise, we will not be able to get the value from the technology we are investing from. And this would also involve investing in what we call complementary assets. A typical example of a complementary asset is what? Labor. They take you on your organization goes to buy expensive gadgets. They computerize every process in your organization, but they refuse to pay for your training in London. What happens? So you also be there. I don't know how to use it. So it will be there and it will gather dust. This happens a lot in the public sector. Yes, because someone feels that, okay, we have bought it. But if you are, we won't allow you to go. Meanwhile, you are the core person who is supposed to do what? Do the work. They say you won't go because that one has got to do with some dollars. You can't go. So they will go and they will come back. Meanwhile, when they come back, they can't even do the work. Haven't you experienced it before? They will go and come back. They didn't learn anything. So you now have to sit and go through YouTube and other things to learn, do the work. And when you don't, then it means the investment in that technology would what? It will go waste. This is a typical public sector problem. Yes, greedy. They will buy it. And they will, you know why they will buy it quickly? Because of procurement benefits. They'll get their 10%, so they don't care. They will buy quickly. But they now say, let's train them. Even Accra here, no, they will say, no, you can't go. Because of the small per diem you will get. They won't let you go. So when we say complementary assets, we are referring to assets that are required to derive value from what? A primary investment. And here, the primary investment is what? The technology. But the complementary asset may be what? The labor. Another complementary asset could be your business model. Because you have brought in all these kind of technologies, you now feel that, I need to alter my business model so that I'll be able to leverage on the benefits or the benefits the technology brings. If you don't change your business model, the technology will be there. Meanwhile, you are still doing the old things. You will not get the value from that technology. So investment in technology and the people to make it work properly. That is the most common example of the complementary nature of investment in technology. So let's look at some examples, other examples of complementary assets. Examples of organizational assets. So we just mentioned that the appropriate business model. You have invested a lot in technology. You must adopt the appropriate business model to go with it. Efficient business processes. If your processes, you have gone to buy the most sophisticated equipment, but your business processes are still the traditional way of doing things, you will not be able to get benefits from the use of that particular technology. It's like the banks. Everything is almost computerized now. In some banks, when you go, they won't even give you anything to sign. They will just pass a tablet and then you sign on it. If you have bought all these things, meanwhile, when they come to sign, that thing, you don't have a generator. Let's take it this way. You don't have a generator. All the gadgets are there, but you don't have a generator. So people come and then the tablets, you can't use them. Then you pass them a piece of paper to do what? So the business processes are not efficient. We also have managerial assets. Another important aspect, when you have invested in technology, especially when the technology has to do with some critical stuff and you don't incentivize them, the pay they were getting is still the same, no bonuses. Meanwhile, they are doing more, they have learned more. So incentives for management innovation is important. Teamwork and collaboration among workers in the work environment is also very important. Sometimes teamwork and collaborative work environment don't just happen. You need to invest in that as well. Some people can be there, they don't even know how to work with each other. When they come to work, they are in their corner. Close, they go home. But they may be struggling with an issue, and maybe just an email to the next in command would have solved the problem. So investing in training employees to understand the importance of teamwork and collaborative work environment is also important. Then the last one, examples of social assets. Social assets. Have you ever asked yourself who owns the internet? Have you ever asked yourself who owns the internet? That's an example of a social asset. So you have bought all these sophisticated gadgets. Meanwhile, you don't have network, you don't have internet. You have refused to just common table nets. You can't invest in. So you have no backup. Nothing like that is there. So when you lose data, everything is gone. So another example of a social asset would be technology standards. There may be local technology standards or national technology standards, and there are also what? International technology standards. So your investment in technology should also involve compliance with what? The technology standards. Okay. We're almost there. Information systems. What subject will you study to be in information system? And I said earlier, any subject. That is why someone can do computer science. I didn't do computer science. Someone can do computer science and be in MIS. Someone can do this and be in MIS. Operations, sociology, psychology, economics. But if you look at it carefully, we often would say that psychology, economics, sociology, all these humanities are part of the behavioral sciences. So we often say that is a behavioral approach to what? Information systems. But there are also other category of people, like those who are into computer science, those who are into management science, those who are into operations research, who are also in what? Into MIS. And those are what? The technical part. So MIS has to do with, if you look at this carefully, when we say information systems, it has to do with both what? Social and what? Technical. So this is the social, remember? And this is what? The technical. So we often will say that an information system is what? A socio-technical what? System. An information system is what? a socio-technical system. Now, if you break it down, social will be the human, the people procedures. Technical will be the hardware, software part. Are you getting it? Good. So if you do any of this, you can be in MIS. Now, when we started, I think one important thing we have skipped is what we call the systems theory. I explained this in a way. The systems theory always says that whatever we are looking at, we should look at it in a holistic way. And looking at it in a holistic way means that the issue will have several parts. So if I'm a boss and someone comes to my office and say that, good morning, sir, and I respond, and you say, when I was coming in, so and so, they were just talking about you and say how bad you are. How... Look, you just don't start writing a query to that person. No. You have to understand what? The context. Are you getting it? So you take what? To be able to understand the context, you need a broader view of it. And that broader view, you may end up realizing that, in fact, the one who came to tell you was the one who initiated the conversation. Are you getting it? So a systems perspective will tell us that look at it to have several parts which are what? Connected to each other. And you try to understand those parts, and you may not end up just writing the query. And that is the approach we have used to be able to understand what we mean by an information system. So you see that because we are using the systems perspective, we have dissected the term information system into what? Technical and social, and then hardware, software, data, people, and procedures. That is the perspective from the systems theory. Okay, now when we invest in information systems, okay, this is what I'm just talking about. It combines both computer science, management science, and then the behavioral aspects. So in all of what we are doing in information systems, so those who are into networking, those who are into programming, that's just some aspects. For us, we are interested in our reliance on the technology and how we can use the technology to make sure that we do things better. Our productivity increase, we serve our customers in a better way. And that is what we refer to as the what? The socio-technical view or system. So we should always avoid a purely what? In MIS, we avoid a purely technical approach. We don't do that. We combine social what? A bit of technical and then social or human part. Okay. Now, when you invest in information, this is the last point. When you invest in an information system, what will happen? Or why would you even invest in an information system? Why? So let me give this scenario. There are firms today. Okay, let me use, anybody know a communication center? Have you heard of a communication center? Communication center. Where do you know where one is? They used to.
You go and pay and make.
You go and pay and make call. Where are they? Are you getting it? Communication centers were all over town, and you know the way Tamale business goes. Everybody will go to that direction. So they were all over the place. Communication centers. But some communication centers in town are still in existence. But they are not doing those services they used to do because they have adapted and adopted new technologies. They have adapted and adopted new technologies. And because of that, they have done what? They have survived. A typical example is IB.com. They have survived. The communication, those boxes are no longer there. But if you go there, you can use the internet. They can do a lot of things for you. So our investment in information technology may be because of what? Survival. Because you want your business to survive. So you invest in it. Any other reason? There are some points I want us to look at, and then yes. Any other? Apart from survival. So even if the business model hasn't changed, communication centers are still there. How can you ensure that people will run away from Jarizama and come to Ibidon? You remember Jarizama then? Opposite Barclays. Booming. How can you ensure that people will run away from your competitors and come to you? Yes. Yes. Viable. How can you maintain viability? So by investing in technology, that's one. Another, how can you, so apart from investing, how can you ensure that the people who come are repeated customers? Excellence, excellence. So operational excellence. If you do well, they will come back. That is why for us in the School of Business, serving you better is our prime objective. You know why? Because you would be, because you are those who will sell this program. Yes, you are those who will sell this program. So we have warned and warned. This is a secret. My colleagues are. We have warned and warned each other. Please, we are going to class. Don't go there and do what and disgrace us. Deliver. And last week, one of my colleagues was saying, "Master, do your best, do your best," because this. Yes, that is what we mean by operational excellence, so that you can have repeated customers. You are not changing your business model, but because of the changes in technology, you continue to rely or leverage on the technology to serve your customers, your suppliers better, so that they will run away from others and become repeat customers. Your business model is still there, but you can change a little bit to offer new products, new services, or adopt maybe a new business model. That's what IB.com and Co have done. They offer new products now, new services, and then they have adopted a different business, no more communication center. If you come there and say you want to make a call, they will say, master, go and buy credit and do your call. What are you doing here? To the extent that when you want to apply to a university and you go there, they will help you do that. Yes. Then we also have customer and supplier intimacy. Assuming you call a particular customer service agent, and the moment the call picks up, the moment they pick up, they mention your name. Haven't you ever encountered somebody on the other side and you don't want the conversation to end? You don't know the customer service agent, but the way the person is so soft-spoken to you, you feel like asking, can I have your number? But you can't. So that's customer and supplier intimacy is very important. How can you leverage on technology to be able to do that? If you maintain up-to-date customer or supplier data. When people are calling, you know exactly who is calling. You know their demographics. You can respond. If they are calling with respect to a previous query, the system will tell you, and you'll be able to address them better. I think the banks do that very well. Yes. And some exactly. Yes. Deliveries. You call in the moment you call and they hear this, oh, you are the one who likes. Yeah, you always buy this. Okay, so we know we will put it. Yeah. Yes. So you would always want to call to the extent that sometimes you call and the one you have been speaking to is not there, and you ask about where is so and so, because you feel attached to this particular. It's very, very important. Improve decision making. We can also invest heavily in information system to improve decision making. In fact, that is a core mandate of what? Information system, to help managers improve their decision making process. And then competitive advantage, to do better than your competitors. Do better than your competitors. The banks will always tell you that, you know, if you rely on loans, they can easily confuse you. These people will come, they will say that, oh, this bank, the way they are calculating their interest rate is wrong, or you will be in trouble. They didn't tell you the truth. Pay it off and come and join us here. Then you join and they say, oh, we are, haven't you encountered it? They'll say, we are reducing balance. So it will be reducing as you go along. And you pay the thing, 2,000. The thing is not going down. I have a colleague like that who once went to the bank and said, I've been paying this loan for all these years. How much is my balance? And when they brought the balance, he nearly collapsed. Yes, because maybe the way they communicated it. So we can rely on information technology to do better than our competitor. And the last one, which we discussed first, survivor. Because if you don't adopt some technologies, your business will what? It will die. Your business will die. Yes, and you have to be smart to be able to do that. Because the rate at which technology is changing these days, if you are not very adaptive, before you realize that you have to change, master, they have moved on. Your competitors have moved on, and you may not be able to what? You may not be able to survive. So for us here, that is even the approach we are taking. For us to be able to have a sustainable business school programs, we want to rely heavily on technology. Heavily. That's what we are trying to do. We want to rely heavily on technology because in this era, fiscal space is no longer a challenge to attaining higher education. 10 years ago or less, if somebody had an online degree, I remember some colleagues were not promoted because they had online degrees. Yes, but the way online degrees were offered is completely different today. Yes, because I think COVID has done a lot of good by changing or building our trust in the use of these virtual technologies. Any question?